camera. So.
Okay, so you put them on.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Talk Therapy. Trying to give you guys a few minutes to log in. Make sure you share. This is going to be a really, really, really good talk show tonight. Oh, let me turn that down. So make sure you share it tonight. So I am Tara T. Stallings.
And I am Melody M. Manning. How y'all doing tonight? How y'all doing?
It is Monday. Lord, I'm thinking it's Tuesday. Y'all tell you
She's
what.
so used to us
Coming on
Tuesday.
Tuesday. It is Sunday, September the 12th. And happy birthday to all the birthday people. Y'all know my birthday this month. Y'all know me. So, hey.
Happy birthday to her.
Happy birthday to all the September people. So, you guys, tonight's topic is you're not dealing with it, but it's still dealing with you. So, we're going to talk about that tonight. So, I want to make sure you guys go ahead and like and share and like, because this is going to be a very interesting topic. And look, we want your feedback. We want your feedback.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good one because sometimes we can actually think we're dealing with an issue, but we're pushing it further and further back. But it's dealing with us.
It's still dealing with us.
So we're gonna break it down of
yes.
how to deal with that.
So let me just give you a synopsis of what tonight's topic is going to be about. Just what we said. You're not dealing with it. So often and I use the African American culture. We have been taught to believe that out of sight, out of mind, and if you just leave it alone, things will go away. Things will happen to us, or things have happened to us in our past, and we think that we just don't talk about it, sweep it up under the rug, it will go away. Or we decide that, okay, it's so painful. Every time I try to talk about it, it's so painful that it's just not worth talking about it. I've left it alone, and you've moved on in your life. Or it's, I prayed about it and I gave it to God, and He's gonna work it out one day by and by. But at the same time, by you saying those things or believing those things, what you chose not to deal with is still dealing with you, whether it be in spending money, overeating, buying clothes, sex, drugs, alcohol, stress. It still deals with you. Just because you don't talk about it, you mask it with so many different things until one day something that has nothing to do with the real issue comes a problem and you explode and you think it's the small thing, but really it's the big issue that you haven't dealt with, that has been dealing with you the entire time, but you have been masking it with other things. And sometimes you mask it with titles. You get, I see so many people that have so many degrees. They have and whether that's in church, whether it's in the secular realm and academia, they get all of these things, or they buy all of this stuff, but they still don't deal with the root of the problem. You have to deal with the root of the issue, because guess what? It's still gonna deal with you. It still deals with you whether you deal with it or not.
It's gonna come out in some shape or form. It's definitely gonna come out, and we have to get to a point where we can become aware that we are pushing things aside. Because some people, may not be fully aware that they are doing that, and they think that out of sight is out of mind. Right. And I'm gonna be honest. I've heard that in church before.
Wow. Out of
You
sight,
know,
out of mind.
out of sight, out of mind.
Wow.
Well, I'm not gonna say that the phrase was used, but it was kind of taught,
Okay.
you know,
Unspoken.
unspoken,
Yeah.
you know. So we have to get past that because some of the ways that it can come out can be unhealthy.
Yeah. A lot of ways that it comes out.
Yeah.
Because it's coming out because again, even though you are not the person is not directly dealing with the source, the root of the issue. I mean, hear what I'm saying. Even though they are not directly dealing with it, indirectly, they are dealing with it. They're dealing with it. Overeating, undereating, stress, shopping, buying cars, buying things, anger,
Fear,
fear,
trust issues.
trust issues, yes,
Mhm.
titles, so many different things, sex, alcohol, drugs, so many different things that dealing with them because they choose not to deal with the root of the problem.
Mhm.
And we have to, as a culture, began to heal. I remember last year during the pandemic, and we had the riots because of the events that happened during the summer, and with the riots and the racial uproars. And I remember a young lady saying to me, she made a post on social media because I said something about almost what I said here. Look, we keep blaming everybody else, but we need to deal with our own issues. We need to heal from ourselves. We keep blaming or putting the blame on everybody else, but we don't want to deal with our own issues. And she said to me, well, she made a post, and she said, "Well, this is not the time to bring up stuff that's going on in the house. We need to keep it up under the rug. We don't need to expose what's going on in the house." Meaning, with our own issues within our own race. Now we're looking at, you know, we're gonna deal with what they're dealing with, but we're not gonna deal with the main problem. And I said to her, "That's the problem. You cannot deal with someone else's issues until you deal with your own first. Because when you fix your own, issues that other people are bringing minimize because you're healed."
And it goes back to that same cliche we've heard over and over and over. If you don't have a proper foundation, and when you hold yourselves accountable and examine yourself, you're your foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you have a solid foundation, then you can control everything out. You can control how what you're going to do. You can't control people, but you can control
Your response.
how people deal with
Mhm.
you because you set boundaries or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to start with your foundation because if you never take care of the foundation, you building something pretty on something that's unstable, which can fall at any time.
Mm-hmm.
And it can't withstand anything. And basically, as a community, that's what we've done for so many years. You know, we put a mask on it. You know, we're making more money now. We have some privileges that we didn't have at one point, but we never really solved some problems and never educated ourselves on some things.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to get better with that because I just want to add this tidbit because I made a post this week. I talk with people every single day. And in talking with people, I found those in the African American community, they are there to seek the help. But when you ask them what they need help with, it's like, well, I don't really know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We can ask for, we can command, and we can hide so much, but we don't know how to give a voice to the things that we actually need so that we can be good.
Mm-hmm.
And when we brush stuff to the back, it's because we don't know how to say, you know what, I need to deal with this. How can I deal with
Mm-hmm.
this? What are some steps that I can take to be able to move past this? It's easy for us not to deal with it and put on a mask and pretend and everything is okay.
Mhm.
We
I
got to get past
I
that.
think and a lot of reason that I see in the African American community, and also in the Hispanic community, I'm going to say that also, is because we have been taught to hide our true emotions. Because it's if you show your emotions, it's supposed to be a sign of weakness. You know, it's equated as a sign of weakness, and when that is so far from the truth. So, as you said, people are hurting and they know they need help, but they can't identify it because guess what? They haven't sat down enough to identify it and be real with themselves. And then if they have identified it and they said something to the family or the other person or someone close to them, we have been taught to shun them off or to use the phrase, well, just pray about it and God is going to work it out. Now, let me just say this. I am a believer in prayer. And I know that I know that I know that I know prayer works. But the problem with always telling people to pray about it and God's going to work it out, most people, one, they don't know how to pray. They complain in prayer, and the what they say is, Lord, fix it. Well, that's kind of like going to the judge and say, Judge, I got some stuff on my record and I need you to fix it. He's gonna be like, well, what you want me to fix? So we're not specific. And I was sharing that with my youth group this morning. So we have to just be cognitive of listen. It's not just going through a routine. We have to be able to identify the problem and be okay with putting a voice to it and stop hiding. It doesn't make you vulnerable that you're showing your emotions. It makes you human because whether you know it or not, anger is an emotion. Anger is an emotion. Sadness is an emotion. Yelling, screaming, all of those are emotions. So you're still displaying an emotion, accept the emotion that you need so that you can get help for whatever the root problem is, the root issue of whatever the problem is. And we really need to get back to it and stop masking it or being afraid to talk about it with other people because we're afraid of their reaction. Or so often I hear people say, well, I don't want, they're hurting already. You know, we say, well, I just don't want to bring it up because I see that they're hurting already and I don't want to add any more memory is on there, but they don't want to add any more stress to the person. They don't want to add any more hurt to the person. But let's look at it from a different way. If the person is already hurt, and people mask their hurt all the time, I know how to mask some hurt.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to heal and they're trying to heal, you bringing up the root of the problem is not going to cause them to hurt anymore because they're already hurt. What we and I kind of use the example of it's kind of like putting a band-aid over an open wound, and we think, oh, if we uncover it, it's gonna make the sore worse. Well, it's already seeping up infection. You just put a band-aid on top of it, but when something hits it, then it starts oozing out a little bit, but it's still oozing out up under the band-aid. So why not take the band-aid off? And just like when you have a deep infection, they have to put packing in there. The packing feels good with the antiseptic and the cleaning in there, but when you rip it out, guess what? It hurts. When you have to rip that packing out because you're taking that infection out. It hurts for that moment, but it's healing from the inside out. So we got to be able to address the issues. It's gonna hurt for the moment, but it's gonna cause healing for a lifetime. And I think that's what we're afraid of. Afraid of being healed, afraid of solving the issue, afraid of stopping the generational curses in our lives, in our bloodlines, in our families, because we're just so afraid of addressing the issue.
We can't see ourselves healed.
Wow. Now you said something there. Now stay there.
Because if you can't see it, then you have a problem with it, because we have physical eyes, and we have vision. You can have spiritual vision, and you have fleshly vision. Right. So if you can't picture it, then you can't move forward. And this is something that a lot of people get to talking about when you're talking about vision boards and stuff. You're actually able to physically see it. But if you can't physically see yourself being in a happy place, a healed place, a whole place, a forgiven place, you don't know what you're moving towards.
Like moving in darkness.
Yeah. We got to be able to get to a place where, okay, I want to be happy. I see myself happy. I see myself functioning on this level. I see myself with this. Let's bring it down to what people really love, money. I see myself operating in this level of prosperity. But if you can't get an actual visual of it, you can't move past it. And the thing is, in our lifetime, at some point, there's going to be a break. At some point, there's going to be a break. If it's not now, sooner it's going to be later. And hopefully it won't be in a bad state. And when we're talking about this, all I can think about is the movie Aretha Franklin. I saw both of them. I saw the Genius one on TV, and I saw the other one in the theater. And sometimes when our healing and our freedom is not just for us. When you're talking about the breaking generational curses, you're breaking generational curses, and then you may be helping somebody else just get free. Because and I hate to kind of go off on this.
No.
But in that movie, I really thought about it and I looked at it. They never said it, but it was unspoken that Aretha's father, well, we know he molested, allegedly in the movie, another 12-year-old girl. I believe there was the context between him and Aretha, but she loved him so much. She never spoke on it. She never ever spoke on it, but it was the unspoken, and you could see it. But then me and my cousin, we joked because in the theater movie scene, there was a scene where Aretha called the man. She called room service and told him I got some trash to put out. It was her husband's stuff. Then Aretha got right on the phone and called another man and was like, well, can you just come hold me? But because she had not dealt with the unspoken, much as she loved her father, she still had some residual stuff to deal with. Because Aretha was a bad girl. She kept a man. I don't care what they said about Aretha and how she looked. Aretha kept a man. But that keeping a man was residual from what she dealt with. Because all she wanted him to do, just this man to come, I just need you to hold me tonight. She didn't know how to be alone. But then she did have that break where she had to go seek help. But what if she had said something, even if her and her father had a conversation about that unspoken? She may have freed him from some stuff.
Let's go there for a minute, because especially in, and I'm glad you brought that up, especially in the African American, and I'm pretty sure it's in other cultures, how often do we have family secrets that never go, that never are revealed, that always go unspoken, that continually matriculate throughout the generations, and we see the pattern, but we're never strong enough to speak up so that the pattern can be broken. and it keeps generating and regenerating throughout the next generation and next generation, and it keeps building. It keeps adding stuff. So what about if we just talked about it? Because I said something, I think you and I talked about this a while back. It's not about exposing a person. It's about exposing a behavior and breaking free from generational curses, generational hurt, generational pain, so that the person and the family can heal.
And sometimes people be waiting on you. They need you to say something about it.
Well, you know, Melody, let's just be honest. We a lot of times we are told things, y'all. You know, you guys, you know what we say. What goes on in the house stays in the house.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're afraid to say anything because you don't want anybody to know your business. You don't want people to know what's going on in the house.
But they really know anyway.
But everybody already knows what's going on. Look,
but they really know anyway.
People already know what's going on in your house. They already created a narrative. They can see what you're not saying a lot of times. They can see it through body language. People pay attention. So they're already seeing it.
Yeah.
They already know. Because guess what? Nothing that's hidden is going to stay hidden. Somebody's going to say something in the family that's going to spark something and say, well, you know, I knew it. And they're going to tell somebody, and somebody's going to tell somebody, and somebody's going to tell. And after a while, they already know. They're just looking, talking behind your back.
Or something, you know, something critical or detrimental can happen. You know, and because, you know, and I look at things all sides. But you could have said something to them. It may not have saved them, but it would have brought light. Because even times when we in our mess, sometimes we don't know we in a mess. You know, and if nobody's ever told you in a mess, and that's what love make you do. Love will make you tell people some stuff. Real love.
Right.
And we gotta know that word and stop using that word so lightly. But love will have you tell people those hard things. Yeah, the truth.
Well, the word of God says, those he loves, he chastises. Because chastisement is not a bad thing. Chastisement is a pruning thing so that you can get it right.
Yeah.
The Bible tells us, I'm not trying to go teach a Bible study tonight, but it tells us if you love your child, you will chastise your child. It tells you that. Let your child just do whatever they want to do, and you never punish them for it or chastise them for it. That's not love.
That's not.
The Bible tells you that's that love, because what's going to happen, the child's going to grow up and going to have to, what you allow them to get away with, society is it.
And then you know what? When that child goes sit down with somebody, then they gonna be
mad with you because you
mom and daddy because they didn't
do your job.
Yeah, they feel like, oh, you allowed me to get away with it.
I know I've sat with people that mad with their parents, that when they were young, they had the freedom to do whatever they wanted to do. And then when they got older, they realized, why would my parents do that to me? Because they suffered all this heartache because the parents didn't parent them.
Correct.
So love does correct. And we have to be strong enough to love people, really love people, to tell them what you said, Melody. Talk about the hard things, the things that nobody wants to talk about, the things that are gonna snatch that infection out so that you can heal. We have to get to the point where we always talk about keeping stuff 100. We want to keep it real and 100. The 100, I say this, most people 100 is based out of a lie. Their 100, their realness is based out of a lie. You have to get stripped down so you can know the truth. Like you said, Melody, you talk to people every day and they need help, they want help, but they don't know how to articulate or know what they need help for because they have been hiding so long.
And you know what? And I found this in when talking with clients, and they've called in because they know they need the help. They want the help, but they don't want to give a voice to it. They want to see how much, almost want you to be a psychic or a prophet and see how much you can see. Because if you can see it, then they're thinking other people can see it too. Instead of being honest with and coming clean with themselves. You know, and in the in the and I keep referring back to the African American community, because when we say the coming clean and the mental health aspect of it, we want to put illness behind all of it. It's not necessarily illness, it's wellness also. Because as we were talking about, when you're pushing that stuff back and back, you do damage to your memory, because you can soon forget temporarily, forget that the action ever took place, or you ever did it, or you ever said it, or it ever hurt you. And then one day there could be the slightest thing that'll make you snap back to what you had temporarily forgotten. Now, how it's going to play out at that point, it could be totally different. You may be able to, as the kids say, brush it off, or you may have a total breakdown.
And sometimes what we do is we disassociate.
Yeah.
Things are so painful, we disassociate the trauma, the events from that hurt, and it goes into a chamber in our mind that it sits dormant until we get a bump. And then what we disassociated with, those memories that we don't have, all of a sudden what happens is, guess what? You start getting flashes. You start getting flashes, and you start having dreams, and you start all of that stuff that you pushed aside, it starts showing, coming back up. And then you ask yourself, was it a dream or was it real? No, it was real. It happened, but because the trauma of it, you disassociated with it because you pushed it back so long. And I mean, it's a few other things, so we're not gonna get into all of that. But that happened. So we really have to, to get real with ourselves. So often we look at the fruit of the problem instead of looking at the root of the problem. We look at the outside part, but we never deal with the source. When I say the root, the source of it. If you're trying to cut down a tree in your yard, cutting the branches off of it is not going to cut down that tree. Cutting the tree down and leaving the stump there is not going to get that tree up. You got to get something and grind the stump up, because that's the root of it. You got to kill the roots of it, because if not, it's going to slowly come back up. And we want to prune stuff and dress it up. Sometimes we don't even want to cut the limbs off. We just want to put ornaments on it.
Yeah. And make it pretty.
Make it real pretty. So nobody ever looks at the fruit of it. Nobody ever looks at the tree. Nobody looks at the damage. They're just looking at, oh, how pretty it is. And it's dying from the inside out. And then when somebody goes to touch it and then everything falls apart, they're like, well, what happened? Their life was so well. They were doing so well. And then all of a sudden, the bottom falls out. Then people are looking like, what happened? Well, guess what? They were dying from the inside. And they were hiding it with everything instead of stripping down and being real with yourself, because you not dealing with it. It's still dealing with you. And we have to start dealing with the problem and stop making excuses for people and bad behavior.
Yes. And when it comes to the people in the bad behavior, we all know others that have bad behavior. Doesn't mean we're not saying you got to tell everybody. Right. I mean, if you and the person, and this is just me, if it is bad behavior, really bad behavior, you might want to have a witness there, just for the conversation. But have the conversation. Love each other enough that you can have that conversation. Yes. Bring some things to light. Yeah. Because, this secret thing, that can be something else.
Yeah. because you have your perception, they have their perception. What I said, it's three sides to the truth, to a story. Your side, their side, and then there's the truth in the middle. And what happens is the truth never comes out because nobody ever has a conversation. Right. Because everybody's going on what they believe, what their truth is, what their perception of it is, and nobody comes to the table and not yell, not scream, but converse about how they feel, their perception of it, how it made them feel, how it makes them feel, their reaction to it, so that you can get an understanding and healing can begin. We have to start healing.
We have to.
We have to start healing.
And we got to start with our own individual families. Mm-hmm. Start with your household. Mm-hmm. You know, if it's a child that has voiced something, you know, and me and my daughter, we have conversations, and you know, and she said, "Mom, you don't say, I know you love me." She said, "But you don't say, I love you enough to me." And I had to stop. Now, I love to tell people I love you, but I had to really say, well, Melody, are you really telling her that you loving her? And I had to call myself on it. Mm-hmm. So now I purposely make sure if that's what she needs to hear, mm-hmm. I'm gonna give it to her. But if she had never called me on it, because here I am, I love to tell people, "Oh, I love you," mm-hmm. hugs and kisses, you know, but then my own child was like, "Mom, you don't say it enough. I know you love me, but you don't say it enough." So yeah, because she needed more, and I said, "Okay, this is something she needs." So now, I make it, you know, I have to say it. Yeah. Not that I don't want to say it, because I do want to say it. I love my children. Yes, but that was something.
But that's a need for a person.
She called me on it, yeah. And when I heard her say that, I did not just hear her say that she needed to hear me say. I felt that it was affecting her, mm-hmm. in other places in her life that were outside of me.
I want you to say that again. I don't want you to go too fast when you say that, because there's so many people that are listening that heard where she, you know, people hear a lot of different things, but you heard your daughter say, "Hey, I know you love me, but I need for you to tell me more of it," because for whatever reason it is. Mm-hmm. So as you're listening today, maybe that may be something that will open the doorway, mm-hmm. to some healing, just simply, or "I'm sorry," or whatever it is. Yeah. Sometimes we as people, when people tell us stuff, instead of us, like you said, "I heard her say," they take offense to, "I did it. I tell you this and you do." No. If someone tells you something, I don't want to go too fast. If someone tells you this is what they need from you, I don't care if they're 6, they're 16, 26, or 86. Mm-hmm. If that's what they tell you that they need, you don't ask them. You don't go say, "Well, I give you this." You give them what they need for whatever reason it is. Or you can have the conversation. "Well, apologize." Mm-hmm. Apologize.
That's what I had to do.
Apologize, because guess what? We always think, well, we think from a defensive place. Mm-hmm. If a person tell you they need something from you and you haven't been giving to them in the way that they need it, in the way that they need it, not the way that you want to give it to them, but the way that they need, you apologize to that person for not, mm-hmm. meeting the need the way that they need it to be met, and then you start meeting it. That's how healing begins.
Yeah. And like I said, I heard her say that, but then I also felt that it was affecting, mm-hmm. outside. Because see, we don't realize what each person's love language is, because that's what it boils down to, mm-hmm. and how can it affect other areas of their lives. Because it can affect their relationship. And I'm just using this for example. I'm not saying she has this problem. It can affect their relationship with their children. Mm-hmm. It can affect their relationship with their partner, their spouses, or whatnot. It can affect their relationships with their co-workers.
Yes.
It can affect, It's something just that simple can affect so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we've got to be able to have healthy conversations. And one day I want us to do a show on the art of listening, because
Yes.
that is a true art. You know, a lot of times we hear, but we're not totally listening.
That's right.
So if a person comes to you, or you are having a conversation with someone, make sure you do it in love.
That's right.
I always say is do it in love, because you got to do it in the right spirit so that they can receive it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, chances are they may not receive it at that time, but once that light bulb goes off, you want them to be able to say, well, you know what? They didn't mean me
Mm-hmm.
any ill will.
Right. You may have to have that conversation several times with that person, and they may get it.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times I found that people, especially older people, they have been doing things so long, they don't know how not to do it.
Yeah.
Or they think, well, I've been doing it so long, I'm going to keep doing it. But you sometimes having that conversation, sharing that information with them over and over and over again, even though it may be frustrating sometimes, it takes them more than one time to get it and say, hey, you know, maybe I need to do something different. Maybe I need to do something different. And they don't have to be older. Sometimes they're younger, because sometimes people are hurting so bad and they're so emotional, they cannot open their mouth to express how they feel. They want to, they're saying it in their head, but they cannot open their mouth to express how they feel. They go and buy you something, or they're nicer the next day, because they cannot articulate it because of the hurt that they have experienced, or the life that they have experienced, or it could just be pride. And pride is based off of hurt. I see somebody making a comment. I'm trying to get us over. Angela. Okay, yeah, forgive me.
Well, let me say this, because you're saying that people don't know how to say what they need sometimes. It's because I think we are so used to walking around on the automatic defense. We don't know how to just breathe and relax and take stuff in. We are so on the defensive that it's hard for us to even talk to ourselves or for anybody else to do it. And I think we do it unconsciously sometimes, you know, because it's always, okay, if they say something to me, oh, it's my fault. Everything my fault. You've already got that made up in your mind, and that may not be what they're generally saying, you know, but we've got to learn how to breathe, relax, and get in a mode of receiving.
You said the art of listening, because it goes back to the art of listening.
Yeah, it does. Because, it goes back to the art of listening.
Most of the time when people are talking, people are not listening. They're too busy trying to formulate an answer or formulate a comeback. They're not listening to what the person is saying. They're too busy trying to give an answer back or a comeback that they don't hear, they don't listen, they don't perceive, and they don't read in between the lines of what that person has said or is saying. And I always share with people this: if you don't understand what they said, or they said something that maybe it hit you the wrong way, you ask them, well, this is what I heard you say. This is what I heard you say. And then that gives them an opportunity to either say, yes, this is what I said, or no, this is not what I said, or this is what I meant. But we're too busy, because we don't have that art of listening, like you said. We don't have that. We're too busy trying to give an answer, trying to give a comeback to whatever the person said, because we're always on the defense.
I got one of those as a granddaughter. I said, I could be talking to her, and I'm like, you're not hearing me, because I could tell you what that little voice in your head is saying. Oh, I'm gonna tell her this, and I got this, and she need to know this. So as soon as she finish or take a deep breath, I'm getting ready to tell her. So you have not heard anything the person has said. Because you got that whole thing. Oh, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna tell them this. That's why when you have that, I like to call them heated fellowship, being with your partner, you know, your husband or whoever. When y'all in that heated fellowship, sometimes best to separate, cool down, and then come back because you're both talking and nobody's hearing anybody.
That's right. And then you don't get anything.
You
solved.
don't get nothing resolved.
No.
You know, and then you're both mad
and you still you got to come back to it, and nobody then what they just don't understand me. No, they're not listening to you because we all want to be understood.
Yeah,
we all want to be heard, but to be heard, you got to learn how to listen first.
Yeah, that heated fellowship in 30 minutes, and it took you 2 days.
No, taking it 20 years because
because it's never resolved.
It's never resolved. And when the next argument comes, that you bringing those 15 arguments from before that never got resolved back into this one. Yeah. And that's not a cycle that we as people should be in, especially in this day and age. You know, when people are leaving here, we need to heal. We do. We need to heal. We need to deal with those things that we have swept under the rug, that we believe are out of sight, out of mind, that we think, well, we just gonna give it to God and God is gonna fix it, and He is not. Let me say that God is not going to fix what He has given you the power to fix. I'm going to say that again. God is not and will not fix what He has given you the power to fix. He has given you all authority and all dominion. You have to fix it. He's not going to come down off His throne to bring some supernatural and something. The only thing you got to do is just have a conversation. He's not going to do that. But we have to be able to let go of pride. We have to stop thinking that if we talk and we're going to be vulnerable. So what? You're vulnerable. You're vulnerable anyway. That's why you keep doing what you're doing. So go ahead and have the conversation. Go ahead and heal. And another thing, when you said about the art of listening, when you're having conversations, it's not about placing the blame. And that's the problem. What I hear with people, that it's, well, I'm gonna be placing the blame on somebody. No, you're not placing the blame, because guess what? We all have wrongs. Mm-hmm. Life does not come with a handbook. Mm-hmm. It doesn't come with parenting doesn't come with a handbook. Marriage doesn't come with a handbook. Life doesn't come with a handbook. So it's not placing the blame, right, wrong, or indifferent. And we're so we're good at saying, well, people should know better. In psychotherapy, we call that distorted thinking. People shouldn't. How can you say a person should know better when you don't know what they learned? I remember
they have never been exposed
and never been taught. I remember having a conversation with a young lady, and we were talking about what love was. And she said, if you really love somebody, you won't do things to hurt them, this, and this. And I said, well, okay. Well, what one person equates as love, the other person doesn't necessarily equate that as love, because depending on their experience, their background, their culture, how they've been brought up. And she said, what do you mean? I said, well, let me give you an example. I'm just going to be there. I said, it's people that say they love their children, but they molest them. And she said, well, that's not love. I said, wait. And I'm not an advocate for molesting anybody. I said, but if that's what they believe, to them, that's love. Mm-hmm. So see, when we use that word should, we have to know what true love is first before we can start saying, well, a person should or shouldn't know this or shouldn't do that. How do you know they should? How do you know they've been taught that? How do you know they've ever seen that? How do you know that they're not in such a hurt place? They don't know how to give that because they don't possess it. Mm-hmm. So we use those words should know how to do something because we feel like we know how to do it. It doesn't necessarily mean that person knows how to give it. They may want to give you what you want. Mm-hmm. But if a person doesn't possess it, they can't give it to you.
And when you say possess it, I'm going to bring it a little bit closer to home. When she says the word possess it, this is what I hear: experience.
Yes.
Because I can see happy couples, I can see whole families, but if I've never experienced it, that's another thing. So when we say people should know better, have they experienced it?
Are they on a quest to find it?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have people that have never experienced it, but they see it, and then they make it a quest for their lives to have that in their life.
Say it again. And that goes back to what I said earlier. You got to be able to see yourself
yes.
in that.
And thank you, because you have to be able to see other people doing it. But if you've never been exposed, if you have people that have lived in poverty, let me just use that. Let's just use that have lived in poverty all their life, and they have never seen anyone in their family become successful. Never seen it. But they be making their life's journey, their quest to become financially stable or successful in business. So they watch other people, they learn from other people, they go to seminars, they read books so that they can become what they've never seen in their family, but they have a quest to become it. And because they can see it in their vision, not in their sight, their physical sight, but they can see it in their spirit sight and their soul sight, so that that quest and that drive for it becomes so real, they obtain it.
And that's real true, because I'm gonna say this: a lot of times when we're talking with females, when it comes to relationships, you got to be a visionary, and I've said to you, I don't see my home being that way, because I got a whole movie clip of how I want my home to be, how I want my home to feel, what kind of atmosphere I want in my home. So that's why sometimes when I see something somebody's displaying, like, no, that don't fit in my vision. You know what I'm saying? So when you get to a point when you're able to visually see it, to know what you want, sometimes it'll cause you from stop making some mistakes in your choosing. Because if it's been displayed and it doesn't fit, but you continue to pursue it, then you change your visual, and once you get in it,
it's not what I want.
You can't always blame
it on the other person because you changed.
Yeah, because you changed your visual. Because you wanted that instant gratification, satisfaction at that moment.
We're gonna have to do a show on that one. We're gonna have to do a show on that. I think that's gonna be a good show. That needs an hour to dissect. We need an hour.
But you got a visual just of your relationships, even in your career. If you see yourself somewhere high in a company, then you're going to start carrying yourself. I don't care if you at McDonald's doing the fries. If you see yourself beyond that, being a manager, see yourself moving it or owning it, then you're going to start carrying yourself. You're going to start producing in that, so that you will end up where you're going.
Yes, definitely.
If y'all young people want to quote it, let's say we can manifest it. Visionary, there's so many different things. Sometimes they say put it in the atmosphere. It's what you see.
You can't put it in the atmosphere if you don't see it first.
Yeah, and once you see it, you're gonna believe it,
and then you can put it in the atmosphere.
So
you guys, let's just get back to, Mel. We were discussing what we're gonna talk about this weekend. I said I see this topic is so prevalent in the society, but much more prevalent in the African American community, because we have been taught to hide the truth, to mask the truth. We learn how to not deal with it. but it still deals with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we make excuses for people, or we judge people because we see their fruit of their bad behavior, or we see the fruit of them not dealing with it, and we say things like, oh, if they want to stop, they could stop. And I'm talking about, you see people that are overeating, you see people that are on drugs. Listen, nobody is a child and say, well, you know what, when I grow up, I want to be a drug addict. I want to be an alcoholic. I want to be 800 pounds. Nobody says that. Though that's a result of things dealing with them that they either chose not to deal with or could not deal with at that time. Because sometimes people experience things, they go through so severe trauma that they cannot deal with it emotionally at that time, but they deal with it. It's dealing with them in other ways. So we have to have grace with people and talk with them and ask them, hey, how did you get here? Why are you here? And sometimes people just they get angry. People get angry. They give you a angry response because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want you to start asking them questions about their life because and that's just a defense mechanism, because guess what? If you start asking questions, you start digging in their life, then they're gonna have to deal with what's dealing with them, and they're just not ready to deal with it.
And they're giving it a voice at that time.
Yes.
And a lot of times they don't want to give a voice to it.
Because it's easier to, I know for a time in my life, I'm just going to be transparent. I was in a state of depression so long that I didn't know that I was in a state of depression until I came out of the depression. Then I realized, oh, I was depressed. I was in a state of depression, and I made excuses for the depression that, oh, I'm tired, I just don't feel like doing anything. And I was a functioning depressant. Let me say that, because I coined that.
Yeah.
Where I use that term, functioning depression. I could go to work, I could do what I need to do, but when I got home, boom, I'm back in that state of depression. And I did it, and I made excuses for it because I didn't want to deal with the emotional hurt that I was experiencing. And then when the situation changed and I came alive again, I used that word, I was like, well, wait, what happened? I had been depressed and I didn't realize that I was depressed until I came out of that, till the situation changed. And I said, oh, and then it's like something broke off of me. So sometimes people don't realize it because they can't deal with it. So because they feel like, well, how am they're hopeless. And I felt like, well, right now I can't do nothing about this. So it is what it is. So, so when we deal with people, when we talk with people, sometimes we have to realize sometimes they want to fix it. They want to deal with it, but they don't know how.
And that's very true.
They don't know how. They don't know where to begin. And sometimes people are so used to walking in darkness. You know how you at nighttime, you know how to get through your house in the dark. Because you do your house in the dark. And you can walk through your house without turning the lights on. You know how to function in the dark. And when you turn the light on, it hurts your eyes. So it's turn the light off. Because you're used to function in the dark. Some people are used to functioning in the dark, and if the light turns on, it's going to cause them to be uncomfortable and it's going to hurt for a while. So they rather stay in the dark. She said this needs 2 hours. Yes, we do. we may have to come back with that because it's time to heal, you guys. It's time for us to heal, to deal with it, to learn from our right, wrongs, or indifferent, because I believe that life is an experience. We all, I used it when I was younger. I was stuck on stupid stage. I made mistakes in that stage, but guess what? Those mistakes make me who I am today. And I wouldn't change them. Would I change some behaviors? Yeah, sure I would. Would I change some decisions? Yes, sure I would. But if I didn't go through those things, I would be where I am today. So I'm grateful for the experiences that I've learned, that I've grown through, so that I not only can live a healed life, but I can also help somebody else.
True. I just want to share this right quick because we're coming to the end of the show. Now, I like to write. And we've talked about pushing some things under the rug, and we may not be able to really, or not ready to give it a voice, a sound. But start somewhere. Write yourself a letter or some of the things that you know you need to deal with. Or if you need to write a letter to somebody else because you feel like you can't physically talk, not saying you got to even give them the letter, but sometimes just to get that release of getting it out, expressing it some type of way can take a load off your shoulders and ease your mind. Write yourself a letter. Write a letter to somebody you may need to talk to. And maybe at some point you'll get strong enough to talk to them or give them the letter. If they're deceased, write a letter to the deceased.
Or have a conversation. We come do the chair exercise.
Yeah.
Sit them in the chair and talk to them.
And talk to them. You gotta have that release because then you're talking about stress. You're talking about anxiety. You're talking about your sleep. You're talking about how you eat. You're talking about your blood pressure. So many things can come from harboring all of that stuff. But start somewhere. And I say, write some letters, journal. You know, because you can write out a whole lot of stuff that we can't bring out our mouth. And just be honest. It don't have to be pretty. It don't have to be, fancy and all that. And you just need to cuss. You just go on and cuss.
Because you cuss it anyway.
Yeah. You're cussing anyway. So, yeah, just do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to get you in a better place.
Yeah.
So that we can love each other.
It's time. It's time.
It is. It's time.
It's time to get it right, you guys.
Yeah. People leaving here too fast.
Leaving here. Gone here today. Gone the next 10 minutes. So, this is Talk Therapy. I am Tara T. Stallings.
And I'm Melody Manning.
See you guys on the fourth Sunday, 7 o'clock. Make sure you like and share and like. And hey, reach out to us. If you don't know our pages, you can find me, YouTube, Twitter, everything at Let's Talk Tara. You can find Melody.
All my handles are inspired by Melody.
All right. See you guys next fourth Sunday. Have a great week.